Started.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks for joining once again. We're still in lockdown, but probably getting closer for the lockdown to go away and us getting back into training, even though the ECB has provided certain guidelines, but they're more on the side of caution rather than going out and fully integrating into training and having matches, etc. So I'm here again, yet to deliver another session to you guys. And today we're going to talk about batting against spin, right?
All right.
Um, what do you think batters typically, how do they play spin? What are the patterns that occur in an innings, whether it's one day test against spin? What are batters trying to do? What happens to the run rate? What happens to, wickets falling? Any idea?
I think in terms of like test matches, the batsman is a bit more wary because of it's a 5 day game first of all, so they're gonna try and pace themselves. Um, there could be a bit of rough, meaning the ball could cause more trouble for them, so they got to be more what's the word? You got to
Cautious.
have a
Yeah.
bit more cautious there, just to watch out for that delivery that could spin a lot or spin less or bounce higher or bounce lower. That's what I think.
Yeah, I mean, when I was looking into this, I mean, we all have certain ideas in our head that the ball is spinning, take it easy, don't take too much risk, play shots here and there. But I needed to back that up with some sort of data, right? So I went around and I went on to Cricinfo and certain other sources to gather some information, right? And typically batters try and take a risk-free approach against spin. So the data that you've got in front of you, um, it was recorded in 2014. It was reported in 2014, and it was taken. Data was taken over a series of 5 years. And on the top you have test figures, and at the bottom you have ODI, and this is bowling statistics, right? So um, if you compare seam bowling versus spin bowling, fast bowlers have a better average and strike rate than spin bowlers. So they concede less runs for a wicket, and they take less deliveries for a wicket as well.
All right.
Yep. So spinners don't take as many wickets as pace bowlers, but spinners do take fewer runs per over.
Okay.
If you look at the economy of spinners
Yeah.
versus
See the
pace bowlers, right?
slower, slightly
Yes,
lower.
they're
Yeah.
not taking as many wickets, but they're certainly not giving as many runs away either. So um, if you look at the flip side of a batter or the batting team, they're not going to lose as many wickets, but they're not going to make as many runs either um,
Okay.
in an over.
All right.
So you can see that, yeah, actually batters are on the side of caution rather than trying to attack the ball. And this is obviously uh, taken over. You can see in Test matches over 206 matches, whereas in ODI 644. So in all those individual matches, the scenarios could be very, very different. You could be attacking, you could be taking a risk-free approach. But if you average the pattern over all those matches, you can see that generally batters on the side of caution, i.e., trying to save wickets and
Yeah.
just ticking over at a
Yeah.
reasonable
Okay.
pace rather than going for the ball, right? So in
Okay.
general, that's what batters do. So risk-free approach against spinners, all right? And
Okay.
this is some data of batting teams against spin. So they've categorized it according to which country is playing, and you can see again that the run rate is about five ish um,
Yeah.
per over, and they're not losing wickets that soon either. So it takes about the top teams, the good teams against spin. They're taking about 51 deliveries to lose a wicket against spin.
Okay.
That's that's quite a good number actually. 51
Mm.
to lose a wicket against spin.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't have a
pretty.
comparison of this against pace bowling, but if you just look at the general numbers of in the 1 day match, how many wickets do they lose at that? At least 7, 8 or something. Uh,
Mm.
if you
Yeah,
look at them against spinners, against in the middle overs especially, that's when the spinners come on in the ODI 1 day format. They're losing wickets every 51 deliveries or so.
yeah,
So
not too bad. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. So at the international level, at the elite level, that's what batting teams are doing or batters are doing, right? They're taking a risk-free approach and they're just ticking over,
okay.
right? And I also wanted to see what are the dynamics that occur, like how are they making the runs? Are they taking singles? Are they hitting fours, etc., right? So even though you might be making 5 runs and over, but those 5 runs, how are they coming? Are they coming through singles, doubles, or are they just hitting boundaries every now and then, right?
Okay.
So do we know? It's hard to say, isn't it? Unless
Yeah, you
it's
can't
hard to
really.
say because when you look at statistics and averages, there's underlying information there which we may not have visibility of. But again, I went and saw some information, and this concept of BATEX came out, which what they were trying to do was they were trying to see what are the physical demands or physiological demands on batters during an innings. And because the dynamics of the game changed so much, they couldn't collect live information. So what they did was they said, well, why don't we do some simulations and see what happens? So they collected various data, and they came up with this format. And it's almost like a bleep test to understand how the physiological demands on a batter during a
Yeah.
very long innings. And they came up with 6 stages. And the first stage was so if you look here, building momentum. So this is, building a partnership,
Yeah.
taking initiative. So you start accelerating, fighting back. So, again, low risk. You're trying to establish another partnership again once you lose a wicket. Continuous acceleration, in high speed formats of the game like T20, etc., or the short formats.
Yeah.
Maintaining tempo, conservation, low risk, or closing out the innings, which becomes a high risk. So these are the
Okay.
typical patterns that I think we see in batting, right? And I think that they're pretty accurate here. And again,
Yeah.
using data, they 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 this is the information that they gathered. So building a momentum, you know, in about I think it's 5 overs or so, they have 6 singles, um, 1 double, a couple of fours. Taking initiative, they make 10 singles, 2 doubles, and 2 fours, fighting back, and then you can see at the high risk, you've got 11 singles. They're hitting 4 fours, 3 doubles, 1 single. And if you look at the maintaining tempo one, relatively, they're hitting singles, doubles, and trebles, and not many boundaries,
Yeah.
right? So spinners are generally operating in this stage of
Category.
yeah,
Yeah.
so maintaining tempo where they're conserving, they're taking very low risk. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and they have a very conservative approach in terms of not giving their wickets away, etc. And you can see, singles are quite high, doubles as well, and not many boundaries coming over. So when you look at this, batters are generally taking singles, aren't they?
Yeah.
And how they're taking singles are probably hitting the ball into the gaps. That's how you take
Yeah.
singles. You don't take a
We
single by hitting the ball to a player for
drop
their
a
act.
run maybe. Or yeah.
So this is a really good table that I came across,
Mm.
uh, and it gives an idea of the running demands on a batter, how they're scoring runs as well, right?
Mm.
Yeah. So it gives us an idea of what batters are doing. So tactics against spin from a batting perspective or as a batter, you need to maintain tempo. Yeah, have a very
Uh-huh.
low risk approach. So maintain your wicket, do not give your wicket away. There's lots of running going on via singles, not many boundaries being hit, And how are we taking signals? By actually manipulating the direction of the
Yeah.
ball via
The
your
gap.
bat. Yeah, so you're looking for gaps. You're constantly trying to change the direction of the ball once it comes off the bat. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Technically, what a bat is doing? Well, they're either creating space after the ball pitches, so mainly cut shots, or if the ball is short, playing it in certain ways, or they're trying to get to the spin of the ball, right? So they're trying to kill the spin
Yeah.
and manipulate the direction of the ball, because it's not that easy once it bounces and it's going away or coming into you to change the direction of the ball. But if you could reduce the amount of spin on the ball, you could probably change the direction of the ball as well. So that's what
Yeah.
it means by getting to the spin or getting away from the spin.
Okay.
Um,
Makes sense.
so,
Yeah.
so when you're getting to the spin, the bat is very close to the ball, to the pitch of the ball, and the bat is slightly in front of the front foot. So it frees the bat to change the direction of the ball, because if the bat is behind your front foot, as an example, you haven't got that many degree of freedom of the bat. Whereas if it's slightly in front, you can change the direction of the bat. Whereas behind the bat, you could probably play in a couple of directions, as opposed to when it's in front, you have the opportunity for it to go pretty much 180 to 270 degrees, I suppose, as
Yeah.
opposed to if the bat is behind, you could probably hit it around 90 degrees, maybe. Uh,
Yeah.
you know,
Through
um,
the space. Yeah.
yeah. So that's why you need to, if you're manipulating the direction of the ball via your bat, the bat should be slightly in front of your front foot. Yeah, because you
Okay.
need to free up the bat, the direction, right? So you can be wristy when the bat is in front of you, as opposed to in front of the front foot, as opposed to behind the front foot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you've more degrees of freedom there, right?
All right.
Also, um, the ball is spinning. There's various types of trajectories coming at you. Um, as a batter against spin, you should be able to pick up certain cues from the bowler's action to understand where the ball's going to land, where it's going to pitch, what it's going to do after pitching, what's it doing
Yeah.
in the air, etc. So you have to be pretty good at understanding the spinner's action, the wrist position, etc. All these sort of things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So technically, those are the things a batter is doing. So either getting to the spin of the ball or getting away from the spin of the ball. If you're getting to the spin of the ball, the bat is slightly in front of your front foot to manipulate the direction of the ball. Okay, killing
Yep.
the spin. So you take the spin out the equation, and also you need to be pretty apt to understand the bowler's action and get some cues from the spin bowler.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, understanding the trajectory of the spin ball and picking up and tracking the ball constantly from the spinner's hand to where it's pitching and even post, you need to understand the armory of a spin bowler. So the spin bowler can curve or drift a ball, can
Yeah.
dip the ball. Obviously, there's a bounce and the break, which is the amount of spin
Okay.
a spinner can get off the pitch, right? So if you look at the curve and drift that happens in the air, that's pre-bounce. The dip, again, how quickly it just comes back onto the pitch is pre-bounce. Bouncing is, once it's post-bounce, pretty much, as
Yeah.
in how much bounce is going to, how much carry you're going to get, and the break, how much spin and break you're going to get off the pitch, right? So all these things a batter needs to be aware of, and all these things a batter should be able to deal with when placed under the demand to play against it, right?
All right.
And obviously that comes through experience, it comes through exposure, and via being exposed, understanding wrist positions and body positions, etc. So watching the ball out of the bowler's hand, very key to understanding the
Yeah.
trajectory of the ball. Because unless you understand the trajectory of the ball, you can not get to the spin or get away from the spin, right? It'll become very hard for you to manipulate the direction of the ball.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do they get a curve? drift, dip, bounce, and break. Well, there are four types of spin on the ball. Okay, the first one or one of them is called overspin. So imagine a straight seam and the ball rotating forward. That's called an overspin. So in
Okay.
this, so when the ball is overspinning, it dips quite quickly, and pretty much a short ball, and produces a lot more bounce. Okay, backspin.
Okay.
Imagine the seam rotating backwards. So this type of ball stays in the air a bit longer, but once it bounces, it skids.
All right.
Okay,
Yeah.
a lateral spin. So imagine the seam is not vertical; it's horizontal now. Okay, and the seam is rotating horizontally. This brings curve and drift in the air. But once it bounces on the shiny side, so you get very little bounce on it.
All right.
And then the last one is barrel spin, which is um, the the ball spinning like a barrel, almost like if you're looking at the ball in front of your eyes, is turning either clockwise or anti-clockwise, right? That's what gets the spin on the ball off the seam.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
got
Yeah,
it.
that makes sense.
All these sort of things either bring curve, drift, dip, bounce or and break off the pitch, right?
Okay.
So these are the things that a batter needs to be aware of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So batting. Do you think batting against spin fundamentally is any different from batting against pace?
Fundamentally, no,
Yeah.
because the the skill set is still going to be the same. Like you
Yeah.
said earlier, not taking too much risk, still
Yeah.
watching the ball, this that. But maybe you might have a different approach because if you want to attack more, yeah, you could attack more on a spinner because you have more time. Whereas a pace bowler, he might be more quicker, gives you less time to think, this that.
Yeah, so I think the start position is always the same. So the
Yeah,
fundamentals of the start position are the same. The approach is a bit different. Once you know the trajectory, once you're trying to understand the trajectory and have an understanding of what you need to do with the ball, but the fundamentals of batting still apply. So, we're all taught these things. Keep your head straight in line with the ball. Bend legs for quick dynamic movements, which is pretty key, right? So, slightly bending your knees and having 60% of your body weight on the front leg, like a lunge pattern, is quite key because that allows you to either move forward very quickly or backwards very quickly, right?
yep,
So
yep, yep.
having that stance you see in this picture, this is Kevin Peterson, who was very quick with his feet, I suppose. Um,
Yeah,
he's very good in moving and
quite
playing.
risky as well. Yeah.
And the trigger, as they call the trigger, obviously has two aspects: finding the line of the ball and also the trigger to get into a position where you can dynamically move forward or backwards or sideways.
Yeah,
Um,
movement. Yeah,
is
of
required.
course.
Yeah,
Yeah,
play late, stable base, and full face of the bat. So fundamentally, the batting skills, the fundamentals of batting don't change, right? So especially at the start position. Okay, how you play after is a bit different, but the initiation, which apparently is the most important stage of batting, because if you get this wrong, everything else is wrong as well.
rules.
Because if
Yeah,
you're able to move backward and forward and sideways quickly, you're not going to get to the line of the ball. You won't present a full face of the bat. You're probably not going to be stable, etc. Right? Playing away
yeah.
from the body and all these errors that we make as batters. Right? So the fundamentally they don't change.
Oh,
Right?
right.
So as we say, what we do after against spin is key, and the two things that we can do is either get to the pitch of the ball, i.e., kill the spin, so you take the spin out of it, or
Yeah.
you utilize the max amount of spin by having the ball as far away from the bat as possible. Okay,
Okay.
just
Yeah.
quickly talk about playing ball away from the bat. So what do we mean by that is, so imagine the ball is short, okay, and you play a pull or hook shot as an example. The ball is away from the body when you're playing
Okay.
it, right?
Yeah.
Whereas when the bat, sorry, is your hands and the bat away from the ball as far as they can be. Whereas if it's really close, your body's quite close to the ball if you're going to the pitch of the ball, right? So
Okay.
something which is wide, something which is short, you can play that in certain directions, such as a cut or pull or other directions, right? So we just quickly look at this video, what I mean by that. And so if you look at this, so that's short, see? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
Here you go. Look at this one, cut shot,
It's
right?
cut. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cut shot.
So you're utilizing some of that spin,
Still the spin there.
but you're still utilizing that spin, right?
Yeah.
He's This batter is still not getting to the pitch of the ball. He's not killing the spin, right?
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
see he's actually utilizing that spin, right? So
Okay.
you could as a batter, if you're dynamically apt to quickly move back and forward through your trigger, you can also position yourself for a short or wide ball as well, if you're able to do that very quickly,
Okay.
right? So as a batsman, you want to create opportunities to move the ball in various directions, and by positioning yourself, to create some distance between yourself and the ball, puts you in a position to move the ball in certain directions, right?
All right.
Okay, so that's the first thing. Now let's talk about getting to the spin, i.e., killing the spin of the ball. So
Yeah.
again, we need quick feet to dynamically, get to the ball very quick. And when I say dynamically, your movement can be forward, backwards, or sideways, right? And
Okay.
there are probably two aspects of getting to the ball, i.e., getting to the pitch of the ball. Have you heard of the click movement?
No. No, I haven't.
You probably haven't heard the terminology as click, but you probably know what it is. Especially if
Yeah.
you're
Okay.
going if you're trying to hit for a six or a big shot. This
Yeah.
is the typical pattern that you follow, right? And I think you'll know immediately when I say click click. So watch this movement. Click click. Yep, got it.
Okay. Yeah.
Do that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
yeah. There you go. Right.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Look how
Okay.
you move very quickly, right? Whilst the body being straight, aligned. Use
With the
click.
ball.
It's
Yeah.
almost like a lunge type of pattern, um, where you're moving forward towards the ball, right? So that's one way quickly to get to the ball. Obviously, you need to understand the trajectory, where the ball's going to land, and use your feet to get yourself to the pitch of the ball very quickly.
All right.
That's one way of doing it. Okay. The other
Yep.
way of doing it, sorry.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah,
Carry
the
on.
other way of doing it is this position here. You see this image here?
Yeah.
The
Look at
ball is
that.
around here. So look where the bat is. It's literally slightly in front of the front foot. Okay. And the bat is free to move in any direction. Okay. So if the ball is spinning a lot, you still have the opportunity to move the bat in the direction of the spin.
Yeah.
Okay. And this position allows you to manipulate the direction of the ball.
Okay.
Yep. So you're getting to the spin and manipulating the direction of the ball. The other one is sweeps. So you can, again, sweeps are played where? Slightly
Mid
in front
wicket.
of you,
Yeah. In front. Yeah.
slightly in front of you. And
In
again,
front. Yeah.
yeah, and then again, you can change the direction of the ball. You can play a reverse sweep, conventional sweep, paddle shots, etc. All these sort of things. Again, the
Yeah.
bat is free to move in directions to manipulate the direction of the ball.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's two things you can do. You can either create some space or you can reduce the spacing, i.e., get to the pitch of the ball.
Okay.
Okay. And most of the time, you're probably going to try and manipulate the ball by getting to the pitch of the ball. Okay. Because the other one, maybe you're predominantly going to, the direction, well, the spacing is dictated by where the bowler is pitching the ball. Whereas this you're trying to get to the pitch of the ball.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So what sort of drills do we have to manipulate the ball during our training sessions? Maybe you can have a little video to see, typical things that we could do. So yeah, so if you look at this video here,
Yeah.
they've got zones or cones. They've got mats laid out or cones laid out, etc. So you can play them in certain directions. Okay, so you can aim for certain directions in your netting session.
Okay.
So by getting to the pitch of the ball,
All right.
yeah,
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
yeah. So you have
But
the
the idea.
you have a feeder, feeding you the ball, and then you have to aim for certain areas. You can color code them. You could call them out which color to hit, so that you can change the direction of the ball, via your bat, hitting those regions and stuff, right? A progression of that could be, reducing the surface area of the tool that you're using, which is your bat, right? Because
Yeah.
ideally, you want to be able to get to the ball accurately, right?
Every
And
time. Yeah.
yeah, and an error by a few centimeters can turn into an edge or anything, right? But if you're accurate to get to the size of the ball, then you've got a better chance of getting the ball into those areas and manipulating the direction of the ball. So
Yeah.
progression from a full size bat to maybe a stick, etc., to see how accurate you are, because ultimately, even though the bat may be X centimeters wide, you want that middle line of the bat to always hit the ball. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, that
yeah,
makes sense. Yeah.
okay. And you've probably seen batters using a stick, to get
Yeah.
the accuracy,
Hey,
etc.
De Villiers, you see
Yeah,
quite a lot.
going through. Yeah. Okay. Um, so in terms of manipulating the direction of the ball, we're a bit limited in terms of the drills that we do, right? So we've got like we can use that drill of having cones around, color coded, etc., etc., to hit the ball in those directions. But one other thing we must also know is that batting is a relatively open skill. I think we covered
Okay.
this in our
Yeah.
last presentation, right? So
Yeah.
whereas in most of our training, which occurs in nets, is in a closed format.
Yeah.
So that transference effect of skill acquisition or learning, we don't really get as much via our nets, okay? Because we generally tend to operate in a closed fashion, whereas we need to be operating in an open skill. So we're
Yeah.
limited in terms of the drills that we can introduce in our net session, etc. So what I wanted to understand was, is there any complementary sport that may help us to develop this skill of manipulating the direction of the ball or changing the direction of the ball at speed, which
Mm.
may be quite relevant to our sport. And one thing I came across was the sport of hockey, field hockey, right? So I just
Okay.
want you to watch this video and tell me what you think, and compare it to how batters against spin will change the direction of the ball, right?
All right.
So let's just quickly watch this video and just see what they're doing with their hockey stick, how quickly they change direction of the ball, and how rapidly they do that, and with what great accuracy they do.
Yeah. Oh. Uh, uh, didn't see that, and it went in. It's very quick. Oh. Oh. All right. Hello.
Yep. You
Oh,
get the idea,
interesting.
right?
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, get the
Yeah.
gist of that.
So
Yeah.
and so you see, in hockey, they've got less surface area to play with.
Yeah.
Look at the size of their stick, right? And look at the level
Yeah.
of accuracy they require, especially when they're shooting, towards the goal, etc. The amount of area, the target areas that they have, they're relatively small compared to cricket, right? Uh,
Yeah.
so look at
Quite.
the level of accuracy that they have, how they're manipulating it. And not only that, I mean, you see more and more batters having very unconventional shots nowadays, right? There's certain movement patterns here which certain batters have used, I think, in cricket, going wide of the crease and playing this unconventional shot,
Yeah.
which is quite unorthodox, etc., right? Uh, hockey was one area I was looking into to see, is there something we can get out of it? Because
Yeah.
shots are played in front of the foot. If you see all of,
Yeah. Yeah. I
yeah,
saw that.
yeah, there's reduced surface area of the equipment that they're using, and there's a lots and lots of directional manipulation going on, with the stick in front of their foot, in front of the front foot.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
yeah. So I think hockey is. So I'm not sure if that's just me just looking into it, or other coaches are utilizing this, but it's certainly an area that we can look more into. Uh,
Especially for spin. If you think
yeah,
about it, 'cause it's
exactly.
sensory.
Yeah, especially for spin, because the aim is to manipulate the direction of the ball.
Yeah.
All right.
100%.
Now,
Yeah.
now the thing is, one of the things we need to understand is that if we do introduce hockey, and I'm not saying we introduce hockey into our net session. It's a complementary sport. So you introduce it via warm ups and a little bit of touch and play here and there. And it's not a full fledged training modality, which is going to replace playing the ball in the nets, etc. But it's a
Yeah.
complementary sport. So you can introduce certain bits of it to the sport. But there's this concept of transference effect of something of a drill or training modality, which is going to transfer into the skill that you're trying to acquire, such as in batting, right? So, does hockey, does do hockey drills have a transference effect into batting against spin? Yeah,
Okay.
does it? Does it
Um,
objectively do that, right? So, so as coaches, what we tend to do is we look at a movement pattern and we think, okay, oh, it looks very similar to what we're trying to get our players to achieve, and then we're trying to get our players to practice that drill. But that
yeah.
doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to have a transference effect or a positive impact on the skill that you're trying to acquire,
Yeah.
right? And and the reason there's a concept called the dynamic correspondence, um,
Okay.
introduced by Sif and Vukashansky, um, uh, which has five criterions to assess whether a drill or movement pattern will have an effect in the skill that you're trying to acquire. Right. So,
Okay.
so if we're saying hockey has a positive impact um, in batting against spin, then it has to fulfill four criteria, right? And the first one is the amplitude and direction of the movement pattern. So, um, for instance, if someone's cycling, right, and their knee is rotating or moving between angles of, let's say, 90 to 180 degrees, right? The drill that
Yeah.
you're introducing must also get the knee to move between 90 and 180 degrees.
Okay.
Okay, so what is the range of motion that the joints are going through? They have to be similar, right?
Okay.
If they're not similar, then there will be very less transference effect there. Okay,
All right. Yeah.
right? The other part is where at those joint angles, right, the amount of force being applied should be similar as well.
All right.
Okay, so let's say um, in bowling as an example, okay, if we say javelin, the javelin throw has a transference effect in bowling, okay? And typically at the front foot, the knee is about 150 degrees, as an example, for a bowler, and the
Yeah.
force is about 5 times the body weight. Then if we think javelin is going to have a transference effect in bowling, then the front knee must also be about 150 degrees, and the force must also be about 5 times the body weight of the bowler.
Okay.
Yeah, do you understand?
Yeah.
So it's not simply looking at the body movements. The forces must be similar. The joint angles must be similar as well, right?
Bit of physics. Yeah.
Yeah. The dynamics of effort. So the training stimulus, i.e., the forces required, must exceed in the drill to what's happening in the actual skill, right?
Okay.
So if you want something to have a positive impact on the skill, such as bowling as an example, where the knee is at 150 degrees and the force is 5 times the body weight, then in javelin the force must exceed 5 times the body weight for it to have an impact on the training, on the skill, by providing more of a training stimulus. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Listen.
Yeah. The other thing to note is that the time element in sporting is very important, right? So sporting movements occur very rapidly, between 0.15 to zero point 0.3 or zero point 0.4 seconds, right? So if your training drill does not produce the force in that amount of time, okay, it's not going to have a transference effect.
Okay.
Yeah. So speed, the rate of force production is very, very important as well. So understanding that the max force, the time it takes to produce the maximum force, has to be very similar as well,
Yeah.
because that dictates how your muscles are recruited, what the firing mechanisms of those muscle fibers are, etc. Right? So you need to have something which is similar of that accord. Okay.
Yeah.
The last one is regime of muscular work. So, what is the energy expenditure for those movements, etc., for those movement patterns or those skills, right? So you can't have a sport which demands, I don't know, 2,000 kilojoules per hour, and the drill
Yeah.
you're introducing only introduce 500, because the energy required for the skill itself is very high, but the drill is very low.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
all those things um, need to be in play or quite similar to the skill itself for it to have a transference effect.
All
Okay.
right.
Now we're
Yeah.
not going to get everything, but you need to try and get to it as close as possible as you can, right?
Okay.
So do we think hockey has some sort of transference effect to baton against spin? And again, I did some biomechanical analysis, and the relationships came out quite similar. So if not everything
Okay.
was fulfilled, if not everything was fulfilled, certainly certain elements of it were. So time to impact, okay. Uh,
Quite
so,
similar.
so the back lift to the point of where you hit the ball, okay. The timings are quite similar, or they're within the range. The knee angle is quite similar at the point of
Yeah. Quite
shot,
similar.
or yeah. Uh, so they're quite similar. The trunk angle, again, quite
Quite similar.
similar. Yeah, bat velocity is very similar as well when they're
Yeah.
hitting.
Pretty much in the same bracket.
Yeah, max forces in hockey exceed the forces in batting.
Wow. That. Why is that though?
Um, I think. Well, I mean, you have to take it with a pinch of salt, right? I mean, these guys were just looking at front foot and back foot drives and stuff, as opposed to
This
really going and smashing a ball.
is more generalized. Okay.
Whereas in hockey, this is a slap hit, right? This
Yeah.
is like high force generation. Um,
Okay.
but whatever data I had, if you compare it to get an idea, they are similar, or in hockey, it certainly exceeds it. But if you're looking at spin as an example, where they're not going for big shots, it's still within the range.
Yeah.
Yeah. Time to peak force, again, they're all within limits. And energy expenditure is a bit different, because
Four times. Yeah.
in hockey, you know that they're moving around constantly. the aerobic demands are very different to batters. So, I mean, this was taking in nets. So, the energy demands in hockey are 4 times more than the energy demands in batting in nets. But again, this was in nets, right? So this does not take into account, the running between the wickets.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So again, it could increase and get closer. So some similar patterns there, if not all of those 5 points that we discussed.
Do you think if they include the running in between the wickets,
Hmm.
would that increase the energy? But would it increase it a lot? Would it
Uh,
be similar to hockey or
they
no?
do. I mean, no. I mean, in order to do that, I'll have to go and look into, time motion analysis and seeing how much they're running per hour. All those sort of calculations. But
Yeah.
they run constantly in hockey.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Yeah, we have
And
stop starts, right? So they're definitely going to cover more distance.
how long is their games? It's like how many halves are there in
No, they're
hockey?
getting it's about the 90-minute game.
Oh, yeah. So they're covering a
Yeah,
lot more,
yeah.
a
So
lot
they're
more distance.
covering a
Yeah.
lot more. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So this is so, but then again, if you don't fulfill all the criterions here, but if you're covering majority of them, then you're going to be pretty safe in terms of understanding that there is going to be some transference effect uh, of hockey into batting against spin. Okay, not every drill will 100% satisfy these 5 criterions, right? But you need to have an understanding where you are gaining and where you're not gaining.
Okay.
But it's just not enough for coaches to say, okay, it looks very similar to this movement, let's do that. You have to look into those 5 criterions to
All right.
to understand where it's going to have a transference effect or not.
Okay.
So, yeah, as I said, hockey can be used. I don't see much of it being used, but there is some potential there, and it's something that I would like to explore. So, in our sessions, it's not like we're all going to start playing hockey all of a sudden and not going to nets, but there are parts of it that we can use in our warm-ups for sure to,
Yeah.
rather than, just doing some jogs and jogs on the spot, etc. Why not utilize that time uh, to warm up ourselves for the actual drill, and hopefully the hockey games and small games and warm up drills, etc., has some transference effect into our batting against spin.
All right.
Yeah. So
All right.
a good thing is it's another one fun way of warming up. We don't get to play hockey that much, and rather than having mundane warm up tasks of jogging around and doing some sprints and stuff, why not introduce this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah? You can have a
It's
few.
a bit unorthodox, but
Yeah,
quite interesting.
yeah. So there's lots of drills there to do. Again, you see, look at the manipulation that everyone's doing. See?
Okay.
Yeah. And one of the important things is, even in these warm-up drills, look how open the skill is. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a closed skill where, the ball is placed there and you play the shot in your own time. These drills that they're doing are relatively open because someone is either feeding the ball to them and then they have to manipulate the direction and hit the ball. And that's one important thing that we miss whilst we're in the nets always. Okay, majority of the time because we're constantly feeding the ball in certain areas, etc. Um, and it doesn't become an open skill.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I get the gist of it now. Yeah.
And here's another one where see look how they even changing the direction of the bat that we see a lot amongst batters now.
Stick. Yeah.
Yeah, the stick they're changing the direction of the stick. We see that amongst batters with reverse sweeps and paddle shots and all sorts of things, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. And the
Good.
main section against, like we can position the player to either play the ball, short or wide, create the spacing, get the batter to create some spacing. Click movement, playing
Yeah,
towards long on or long off, and then manipulating the ball in designated areas that we saw before, having some different colored cones, etc., to place the ball in those areas with the bat slightly in front of the front foot. Okay.
yeah.
We have certain tools that we can use. There's different types of balls out there as well, which, can
Oh
vary the
yeah,
bounce spin of the ball. You've probably seen them.
yeah.
Different size of balls and bats. Okay. So
Okay.
obviously reducing the surface area will get you to gear towards more accuracy of getting to the ball as well. Yeah.
Okay.
You can pitch the ball on different surfaces to vary bounce and spin again, and different type of delivery actions are quite important as well. So exposing a batter to different types of bowlers and bowling actions, so that they can understand the trajectory of the ball and where it's going to land, and having those motor skills to understand where the ball is going to land, is also quite important. That should be introduced. In terms of progressing, we've discussed, batting is a relatively open skill. Though we start off as a closed skill of feeding the ball, we always want to progress to open skills.
Yeah.
Okay, so at some point during the nets, you get the player to make a decision which zones he or she wants to aim for. Okay, so
Premeditating. Yeah.
so you may have different colored cones, but you get the batter to choose where he or
We don't want
she
to manipulate. Yeah.
wants to play the ball.
Okay.
Okay, so these are the type of things that we can do um, to improve the skill of batting against spin.
Okay. That's
Okay,
good. Yeah. Good
yeah.
stuff.
So, any questions?
Not at this moment. No. Everything's clear.
Yeah, but I would like to explore the hockey part really to
Yeah,
see.
it's quite interesting. Yeah.
It's quite interesting. I haven't seen it, but maybe there is something there. Obviously, it needs to be researched a bit more before it becomes mainstream practice. But
Yeah.
there are certain elements there which I think we can use, and we're not going to lose much if we're introducing hockey, especially around the warm-up stages, as
Yeah.
opposed to full-fledged introduction.
It's quite fun as well. Yeah. It's short. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that session, and till next time.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Thanks for joining.